on having the better mic than the not better mic. Makes a huge difference. So real quick, because then you can keep this out, but guys, put your name on this, because in case you lose it. Now, it should stay in your binder pretty much always, but if you already put this in the sheet protector, slide it back up a tiny bit, put your name at the top, because if you somehow lose it, I did not print very many extras, so I don't want to have to print more, because guys, we don't have a color copy machine. I just sent these through the color printer, which is not as efficient, like it costs a little bit more, but that's okay. Because I want you guys to have this. This is what we did yesterday. Okay, this is problem A from our lesson yesterday. It just looks a tiny bit different. So what we did up on the smart board, with colors and everything, I tried to color code and put on this paper for you to help you guys as you attack your own problems today. So remember, we had the desert locust that we called D. We had the pink spotted hawk moth, which I like that you guys used H. The other class wanted to use P. Why might I not want to use P in this problem? Why might I like H better? Yeah, but there's especially because a lot of us have sort of messy handwriting, me especially, P looks like D, right? So if I'm choosing variables, I want to choose variables that I won't mess up. So if I use P and D, that might goof up. So I really like the fact that we chose H. And then we said the moth, the desert locust, and the monarch, desert locust, and hawk moth were 12,600. Notice how I keep the color of red for the hawk moth, but this was when we substituted the expression that we had already written down so that we switched to using the variable M. Same thing with our desert locust. We substituted what we had written down up here for the desert locust so that now we're using the variable M. Then we combined our like terms, 1M, 1M, and 4M's, a positive 800 and a negative 200, got 600, and the 12,600 comes down. Right here is the trap door that you might want to make a note of. We have to use inverse. So guys, you might want to slide this back out of your sheet protector for a second. Inverse meaning the opposite. So if we have a plus 600, hey John, I know you might know what's going on, but you talking is distracting for me and your classmates, and it's just disrespectful. If we have a plus 600 that we want to get rid of, guys, this is where people try to put the 600 with the 12,600. I cannot add these together because they're on separate sides of the equals. So here's a trick that I want to show you guys that I like using. I do a dotted line down the middle through my equals that keeps my sides left and right. Because if I do something on the left side, I have to do it on the right side, or my equation does not stay equal. So I subtract 600, so this turns into 0 and essentially disappears, but I have to do it over here as well. So you might want to highlight on both sides. I'm going to go back and highlight that. That's what people forget to do. They forget to do on both sides. And then, since we had 6 multiplied by m, we then use, what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So we divided by 6. After we solved out what m was, we grabbed the expressions from the beginning, plugged in what m is, and solved for the others. You with me? Because your paper's still on the sheet protector, that's why I'm just a little nervous. Questions on what we did yesterday? Just like the probability handout that I gave you guys that I keep super quick reference, like right first thing in my binder because we used it a lot. Put this in your binder somewhere safe that you're going to be able to look back at and use. Or if you want to keep it out for now, if you don't keep your binder on your desk, that's fine. But you want to make sure that you keep track of this paper just like that probability handout. All right? So jump back into your, never mind, we got to check homework. Too many tasks to try to remember. So 535 is due today. Where'd you go? Apparently I need to reopen Adobe because it's broken. All right, what questions do we have here? Aiden? 47C. So let me get my binder out here. 147, right? So, guys, like, highlighters should just be part of you doing math at this point. So, what they tell us is there are 10 sections. One section is a large prize. Well, yeah, because they don't want to give away very many large prizes. We're on the back, by the way. Look at the back of your homework, please. 535 on the back. And 3 are labeled small prize. All the rest are a zonk. Means you don't win. Zonk is real old. That was from like a super old TV show. Like before me. So if you spin once, I'm just going to go through the whole thing. I know Aiden asked for C, but I'm going to go through the whole thing. If we spun it once, how many of our sections have a large prize? Anybody? 1 out of the 10. If we spun once, what's the probability we win any prize? How many sections have any prize? 4 out of 10 because we had 3 small and 1 big. And then if 50 people spin the prize wheel, approximately how many should we expect to win a prize of any kind? So we're going to use our 4/10 for any prize. Anyone want to tell me how I get to figuring out how many out of 50? Katie, I know you have this on your paper because I looked at it this morning. You want to help us out, or you want me to call on Lucas? Okay, Lucas?
To get 10 to 50, you have to multiply it times 5.
We're trying to create a proportion, right? Like an equivalent relationship.
But whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top.
And this that we've been brainwashing ourselves to do of what we do on the bottom, we do on the top, is the same thing with our equations of what you do on the left, you'd have to do on the right. So if I multiply by 5 here, and guys, I expect to see some work showing down here. If you just have 20, I'm going to ask you to come explain it to me. So we would expect 20 people to win some kind of prize. I want to review because somebody came up and asked me about 148 and how to get to the ebook. So real quick, if you are trying to find the Cpm ebook, you can type Cpm ebook into Google. Now if you want to go to the link, I'm going to put the link in Schoology because I realized like some of us aren't as good at Googling. But if I go right here, then I pick the CC2. Right, well, log in with Google. So this is the thing I wanted to remind you too. You are always just clicking the Google button and you're using your school account. So if you're trying to get to the ebook, because I have this big message at the bottom of the paper about if you want some more practice, if you want to look at the checkpoint, because it reviews these things. So ebook, you guys would only see your book. I see all of these because I obviously teach multiple classes. 535. Scroll down to that homework question. Checkpoint 5, order of operations. So if you want a review in the order of operations, you can go to the checkpoint 5. And I'm going to try to link this into Schoology, but you have to log in to get here. So I don't think I'll be able to link this. I'll just link the ebook. But going back to the answer key, our answers for 148 were 20 and -4. So if you did not get those answers, we probably need to re-solve those problems. There's probably an order of operations issue. Other questions? Here, I'll scooch over. Look at 145. I'll scooch over so we can see these. So 145 on the front. Remember, the top is the product. I gave you that little reminder diamond on the right. I included this to remind you the top, we multiply x and y, or the left and right numbers, and the bottom, we add them. And you guys are allowed to use calculators, especially as we get into using decimals here. So the fact that we had a sum of 15.2, that was kind of an indicator we're going to use a decimal. Scooching back over. Más preguntas? More questions? I don't know, but preguntas is one of my favorite Spanish words. Eve? For which one? A or B or both. So we'll do a couple steps. I'm not going to do the whole thing for you. Guys, some of you fell in the trapdoor yesterday, and I'm not trying to play gotcha. This is not my game. I do not want to give you check minuses. That means it takes us more time to like circle back around. But if you only write down what I do in class, and you never finish the problem, you're not done. So like I'm going to start us and do a couple steps of each of these, but I'm probably not going to go all the way to the answer. The first thing that probably hung us up, because we haven't practiced this very much, and you might want to make a note, like up here is a good spot to make a note. 2 cubed means we multiply 2 3 times. So that's 2 times 2 times 2. I would be writing this down, especially if you didn't do this yet. But you should have done it, because it's due today. And exactly what Eve is saying is like, I did it, but I didn't get it right, so can you show it to me? Like, that's what we should be doing right now. Not, hey, I was lazy and didn't do it. Can you do it for me? That's not what, like, Eve is saying, hey, I got it wrong. Show me why. So that, what's 2 times 2 times 2? 8. And there were no parentheses. That's why I skipped right to the exponent step. But here's the next trapdoor. Would I subtract next, divide next, or add next? Divide, because multiplication and division would come next. So 8 divided by 8, or you can think of it as negative 8, but really we can just leave this sitting here as subtraction. What's 8 divided by 8? 1. So that becomes 16 minus 1 plus 5, and then we take it from there. I think you guys can probably do that. In B, parentheses first. Negative 2 plus 6. 4. We still have the little 2, the squared, the exponent. Minus 3 halves. Now, if you really like decimals, that's 1.5, right? 3 halves if you really like decimals and want to replace it. Exponents would be next. 4 squared, if you want to make a little note, if this is still a struggle for you, that means 4 times 4. So what's 4 times 4? 16. I'm going to make a little note here in between. So 16 minus... Now guys, we talked about this yesterday, but I want to talk about it again. This multiplication, I'm going to write as 3 halves times 14 over 1. Because 14 I can make into a fraction by putting it over 1. When we multiply fractions, not add, we are not adding. Which means this is easier. Remember, adding fractions is real tough. Multiplying, we go straight through the top, straight through the bottom. So 16 minus, well, what's 3 times 14? 42. And you can obviously use a calculator, so if that's wrong, somebody please tell me. And then we can do our 42 divided by 2, and then we can do our subtraction and do our addition. Vincent?
I find that there is an easier way to do that fraction multiplication.
Okay.
Because if you were to multiply that 20 by 2, then you could divide the 14 by 2 because they are inverse operations. And then if you multiply those, that's easier to do, which is 6 times 7 than 3 times 14.
So, if that worked for you, great. How you just explained it to somebody who doesn't know what you said sounds like a foreign language. So, let me try to say what Vincent said, is there are other ways you can do this. If I have a 14 on top and a 2 on bottom, I could do 14 divided by 2 and then multiply. But guys, like, if you're not comfortable with the normal method, please don't start getting creative. Don't get creative with this stuff until you're very comfortable. So, Vincent's right, we could do this differently. If I did 14 divided by 2, that'd get me 7. And then if I did times 3, this is going to become 21. Right? So this is going to become 21. So you're totally right. I just don't want to confuse anyone, because some of us are still learning how to do this. And actually, I'll be honest, what you just said was kind of confusing for me, because that's not how my brain thinks about this. So if it works for you, awesome. But that doesn't mean like anyone else has to take that way. They could, but you just kind of made my brain spin. You know the Apple like loading wheel thing or whatever? That's like what my brain just did for a second. And I was like, wait, what? Other questions? We really only have the front left. In 146, it's easy to just copy down C. But guys, I don't know if I said this for your class or not, but if you're thinking about a problem involving variables, you could temporarily assign some numbers to the variables. So what if I called like K3, M5, and N10? How would I average those three numbers? Add them up, divide by 3. Right? So that's how we get our right answer of C here, is we need to add them up and divide by how many numbers we have. Mia?
Can you set up 144?
Absolutely. I was working with somebody on this morning and reminded us, let's use easier variables. Meaning, what are we talking about here in 144? It's a camp full of... More specific. Girls and boys. Because this textbook was written like 12 years ago. I don't know about that long ago, but long enough ago that we still do a lot of like boys and girls things. So the variables I'm going to start using are probably going to be B and G. Because it makes my brain not work so hard. It says, if you don't have work here, please do this with us. Please do this with us right now if you don't have 144 done. The number of girls is, so I'm going to write G equals. I like using capital letters, especially when the lowercase letter looks like a number. Because guys, think about this. If I use lowercase g, it sort of looks like 9. And if I use lowercase b, it sort of looks like 6. So I'm not going to use lowercase g and b because those look like numbers. So I'm going to use uppercase. Can anyone help me write out that the number of girls is 6 more than twice the number of boys? That's a big statement. B plus 6? Twice the number of boys, so it's 2B plus 6. Does that make sense? Questions on how I wrote down 2B plus 6? 6 more than twice the number of boys. There are a total of 156 middle school students at the camp. Oh, well, I keep losing my colors. What could I write down for them telling me a total of 156 students? What are they talking about totaling up? Who's at the camp? Boys and girls, right? So our total, and this, I knew we would probably struggle a tiny bit on this because they don't say boys and girls add up to 56. They just tell us the total. So we have to write down B plus G equals 156. Look at that reference page I just gave you. We wrote out our expressions now. What's step 2? Substitute. So we're going to substitute, because I know what G is, I'm going to plug in for G. So instead of writing G, I can replace it 2B plus 6. Questions? I am not going to finish solving this for you, because at this point, we should be able to follow the page that I gave out today. We next are going to combine like terms. Then we're going to use inverse operations. Y'all are really quiet. Do you want me to finish solving this? Yeah? It's like some of you are just like spacing out. Would you like me to finish solving this? Give me just head nod. Okay? Okay. But you guys got to finish solving it. I'll write it down up here. But when I combine like terms, how many B's do I have? 3. Because 1 here, 2 there. 3B. Do I have another number to go with the 6? Not on this side. Right? So plus 6 equals 156. Look at your handout. What's the next step after combine like terms? I am worried that you are all asleep. I need some interaction here. Or we can all stand up and do 5 jumping jacks. Would that help? Y'all seem real tired this morning. What happened? Well, luckily it's not. It's Wednesday. But Antonella? Yeah, and this is when I would keep a different color. Like if you want to keep a colored pencil in your notebook or something, subtract 6 from both sides to get rid of it from the left side. We cannot add the 6 with the 156 because I need to get it off of the left side. So then we'd have 3B equals 150. I've kind of written a little big here. So I'm actually going to grab this and bring it up here. So 3B equals 150. How do I then finish? Aiden? Yeah, both sides divided by 3. You're right, the math I need to do. But guys, be careful. Write it down on both sides. So B equals 50. Am I done? Nope. There's one more step. Substitute that value into the equations from the beginning. So my equation from the beginning, my girls. Girls will be, see, G looks like 6. I fall into the temptation. G equals, what did we say B is? What's B? 50. So 2 times 50 plus 6. There are a lot more girls than boys at this camp. Probably some boys would not mind that. I didn't have to, but I did. Questions on that problem? Does that make sense now? A little bit, at least. All right. This homework should be done. If it is, turn it in. Please make sure your name is on it. It's like you guys don't want credit for your work. I have a bunch of no-names hanging out over here. I think I got a 1A no-name. Yeah, guys, 534. If you think you turned in your 534, I got a 534 no-name. I got 2 534 no, 3. Holy, I got 3 534 no-names over here. I got 3, 5, 3, 4 no names.
Did we sign for lunch this fall?
We didn't, but
Probably during AO.
you can, and you can double check if you did or not. Here, you can probably stand up in your chair and see him. Trade off who gets to do it. Just make sure he gives you the thumbs up. Stand up on your chair, because otherwise you can't see. Yep. So, reminder. If you find your paper on the no name, you gotta turn it back in. Because I don't know who it was to give credit to. Alright, so for the fact that we're almost out of time, I feel like we should probably just do one more of those problems together from yesterday. So, our other problems were about the bugs and the everything else. So, do we want to do bees and wasps, or do we want to do flies? So let's do hands up. Hands up if you want to do bees and wasps problem. Not very many. Hands up if you want to do the flies problem. Ooh, that feels like more. All right, let's do the flies problem. So, real quick, if you have this, you can get it out. If not, we'll just write stuff down on our graph paper. So pull your graph paper out. Not what I wanted to open. If we have time to look at a couple of those questions, I want to do at least one more of these equation type questions, but then we might just start like looking at closure together.
We could do project 150, which is this kind of thing.
Chat with your team real quick about what you would highlight / write down, and go ahead and start writing that down. Not like copy the words, we're going to write down the math. So I have one more extra copy of flies. Do you guys have the flies problem? Anyone want this extra copy of flies? Are you okay? You have flies. You have the flies. You guys can pop back here if you want. Hey, the two of you can come and share with this group if you want. Because they have the flies paper. And you don't. Huh? I do not. So you can join up with somebody who has it if you want. So you can join up with them back there. You can kind of scooch over. Or we can just do it together. You guys want to help me start highlighting? But yeah, so what do we want to highlight here? Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be important. Let's read the whole thing and then come back and highlight. Ooh, here's one of those like more statements. I feel like this is going to be important because it's like what we've seen, that like more statement. Dragonflies have in one eye.
The number of house flies. Wow, that's pretty. That's because 7 times the number of house flies. So, be a variable.
I'm actually gonna do this.
We did 2,000.
It's a trap.
Plus 2,000.
The first sentence is a trap. It does not matter. So if you have this on paper and you highlighted the first sentence, we don't actually need that. That's just giving us like a fun fact. And another fun fact, if you want to kill a fly, they can't see right above them. At least this is what I've been told. If I'm wrong, blame whoever told it to me. So if you come from right above the fly, like fly swatter or whatever, you have a better chance than if you come from the side, it can see you because the lenses point like all over the place, but apparently they can't see right up. And when a fly flies, it jumps and then flies. It's kind of crazy. All right, there's your fun facts of the day that don't matter. So what we highlighted in green, dragonflies have 2,000 more than 7 times houseflies. 2,000. So Farah, give me a variable for dragonflies. Yeah, D. That makes sense to us. Do you want to keep going and help me with the expression of what D equals? Awesome. There's more than just that. So 2,000 more than, guys, this tells us we're going to need to add 2,000. But what are we adding it to? Do you know, Farah, or you want to call somebody else? Well, what about the houseflies? Ah, the 7 times the housefly. Well, what variable should we use for housefly? H would work. So 7 times H plus that 2,000. And I'm just going to make a little note. H equals housefly. We don't really need that if we like wrote it up here or something like that. And then Eve, when they say together have, like how are we going to put them together? Yeah, we're going to add them. So they tell us in blue that the dragonfly and the housefly together have 34,000 lenses. With your team, follow the handout I gave you. Finish this problem.
Make sure you explain it to your group so it all makes sense. And well, then you just like take the pencil out of his hand and say, "Stop it."
Yeah,
I mean, you know how easy it is. It's just like, yoink. So, keep going. So we write that over D plus H, right? And it's easier. You wrote this correctly. It's easier if we put the 7 times in front of it. So when we go use this again, I would go 7 times. You guys already talk about what we're replacing here? Sweet. Did you guys talk about what to replace, what to substitute? So go ahead and do it, because that's our next step to write down. So I think you can replace D, right? You can replace that D. Hopefully you are substituting for the D. Hopefully we're substituting for the D. If you're rolling, keep rolling. If you need help, look up here. Does anyone have questions on why I replaced the D? We had written down what D is using H, so that lets us use just one variable. Here the variable that we're going to use is H. It's the same thing as saying X. It's just easier for us. What now? Oh, you went home. Aiden, what can I do now? It is step 3 on our handout and or on the whiteboard over there. Combine like terms. So what can I combine there? The H's. So 7H. Okay, I meant to underline it, but it drew my line on top. 7H plus H, 8H. The 2000 has nobody to join up with. Remember, I cannot put the 2000 with the 34,000 because they're on different sides. So now, Kylie, what do I do next? I've got 8H plus 2,000 equals 34,000. It's step 4 on our handout or up on the whiteboard.
Then you would do 32,000 minus 2.
Yeah, we use inverse operations. So inverse operations. I knew what you meant because you gave me the number that we get next. If we subtract 2,000 from both sides, we chose to subtract it. We're not doing something that I just can do over here. I'm doing it to both sides. So now we get 8H. Sweet. The variable's kind of on its own over there. There's 8 of them, but it's kind of on its own. 32,000. Questions at this point? I'm guessing it's not a question. Okay, questions at this point. Think in your head, what do we do now to turn 8H into just H? Now you can say it out loud. Divide by 8 where? Both sides. I want you to be red. Please turn red. And H will equal 4,000. We're not done. What does step 5 tell me to do? Lucas? Go back up to the top. Because H isn't the only thing I'm trying to figure out. I need to figure out D. So if D was 7 times H, wait, what did we just say H is? 4,000. Plus 2,000 more. I'm going to bring this work down here. D equaled 7 times 4,000. Plus 2,000 more. What's 7 times 4? 7, 14, 21, 28. So this is going to be 28,000 plus 200. Sorry, plus 2,000. What is D going to equal? 30,000. Questions? Lucas. Sweet.
When you were doing 8H, 32,000.
Yeah.
You can think of 32 divided by 8.
And bring the zeros, right?
And bring the zeros.
Yep, 32 divided by 8, then bring the zeros.
Which makes the zeros are complicated.
Guys, if your test later this week is open notes, it'd probably be pretty convenient to refer back to this. Keep this somewhere safe. Clip all this stuff in your binder and have a wonderful day. I gotta get rid of this cough.